All right, today we're diving into a set of files that, well, were probably never meant to see the light of day. According to our source material, they paint a very different picture of coronavirus research in the years right before the pandemic, a story that seems to directly challenge the official narrative we've all heard. So, let's get right into it.
At the heart of all this is a big mystery. What really happened to a pretty controversial grant proposal from back in 2018? Now, the official story is that it was flat out rejected. End of story. But, as you're about to see, some newly uncovered documents suggest that wasn't the end at all. Not even close.
And look, on the record, the denials were firm. I mean, really firm. Here you have Dr. Anthony Fauci, who was the director of NIAID at the time, stating pretty unequivocally that his agency had never seen this grant and they definitely never funded it. And it wasn't just him. Peter Daszak from the EcoHealth Alliance, that's the group that actually submitted the proposal, he gave a very similar denial under oath to Congress. He was asked straight up, "Did you ever submit this anywhere else?" And his answer was a simple one-word no.
And then, for a third time, you have a key collaborator, Ralph Baric, who stated that, as far as he knew, the work just wasn't done. So you take these three statements together, and they create this really solid official front. The research in that proposal, it simply never happened.
But then, the story took a really sharp turn with the unexpected discovery of some new documents. And that's exactly where our source material picks up the trail. You see, this new evidence comes from a bunch of files that, according to the documents themselves, were literally marked not to be shared with Congress. Their discovery was, by all accounts, a total accident. So, how in the world did these files even surface? Well, it's kind of wild. It was this surprising digital breadcrumb trail. A Freedom of Information Act, or FOIA release, had an internal email in it. That email had a public Google Drive link, and that link led to a totally open folder, and boom, inside were the files. Investigators were just able to download them. Okay, so let's dig into the proposal that's at the heart of all this. What was it actually proposing, and why was it so controversial to begin with? So, to really get the controversy, we first have to understand this key term, gain of function. In simple terms, it's research that intentionally modifies a virus or some other pathogen, to potentially make it more dangerous or more easily spread. It's a really powerful research tool for sure, but one that obviously carries some serious risks. Okay, so the proposal was called Defuse. It was a huge $14.2 million bid submitted by EcoHealth Alliance to DARPA. That's the Pentagon's advanced research agency. And the goals were, well, they were incredibly ambitious. We're talking about engineering new coronaviruses and even testing an aerosol vaccine on wild bats inside caves in China. Now, here's a really critical detail, a specific genetic feature called the furin cleavage site. The easiest way to think about it is like a special key that helps a virus unlock and infect our human cells way more easily. SARS-CoV-2 has one, but its closest known relatives in nature don't. And what the source material points out is that early drafts of this Defuse proposal explicitly mention plans to engineer these exact sites into coronaviruses. The proposal itself was basically structured in two main parts. You had Technical Area 1, or TA1, which was all about the fieldwork, collecting and analyzing bat samples. That was led by Peter Daszak and the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Then you had Technical Area 2, or TA2, which was the lab work, developing vaccines and countermeasures, led by Ralph Baric and Duke News in Singapore. Now remember this split because it's going to become really important later on. So what happened? Well, DARPA rejected it. They said no. The official reasons given, at least according to Daszak's testimony, were that it was just too ambitious and they were over budget. He even stated that biosafety concerns were never mentioned in the rejection feedback. And that's where the story was supposed to end. But these newly discovered files, they allege something else entirely. They suggest that the proposal wasn't just tossed in the trash. It was repurposed in a process that the source is calling grant recycling. And this, right here, brings us to the most crucial question raised by these documents. If the Defuse proposal was really dead and gone, then why does actual text and methodology from it seem to pop up in two separate, later grants that were funded by Dr. Fauci's agency, NIAID? So here's the first alleged connection. Our source material points out that the core idea from Defuse's fieldwork section, studying specific bat coronaviruses, was apparently recycled by Baric and then added into a funded NIAID grant. specifically proposing work using human airways cells.
And the pattern allegedly continues. Here we have the second part of Defuse, the vaccine development work, and on the right, a totally different funded NIAID grant also drafted by Barrick. The source highlights that these key methods, like using batified mice and having UNC as a sample hub, are basically mirrored, which suggests the other half of the Defuse proposal was recycled right here.
An email from June of 2019 seems to add another layer to this. A collaborator, Danny Anderson, sees the draft for one of these new NIAID grants and she remarks, "Seems like I've been hearing about this work plan for years now." Now, the source presents this as a kind of knowing nod to the fact that they were working on ideas recycled from that original 2018 Defuse proposal.
Okay, so how do all these different pieces supposedly fit together? Well, the source material lays out a network of people and a timeline of events that, they argue, connect all the dots.
This table really shows the network pretty clearly. What the source finds so significant is this consistent overlap of people. Key figures like Daszak and Barrick weren't just on the rejected proposal. They were also on both of the subsequent funded NIAID grants that allegedly contained all of that recycled work.
And according to the source, the timeline is absolutely critical. Right after the Defuse rejection in March 2018, this sequence of events starts to unfold. Barrick gets added to one NIAID grant, then he drafts another one. And this all leads up to collaboration meetings and a key lab visit in Wuhan in late 2019, literally right before the first known cases of COVID-19 were identified.
After the existence of the Defuse proposal finally became public, another collaborator, Lin-Fa Wang, reportedly explained the division of labor in a way that just so happened to mirror the original proposal's structure perfectly. Wuhan for fieldwork, his group for immunology, and UNC for the virology.
Okay, so let's just put it all together. The core allegation from this source material is this: a really controversial 2018 proposal to engineer coronaviruses with new furin cleavage sites wasn't just abandoned. Instead, it was allegedly split in two and quietly funded by NIAID, with the work taking place in the months right before the outbreak began.
And really, that brings us to the final unavoidable question. The source material presents documents that seem to draw a straight line from a rejected 2018 research proposal to funded research that was happening right before the pandemic. So given all the official denials, the timeline presented here doesn't just raise questions about one specific grant. It raises these huge, profound questions about what we truly know about the scientific work that was being done in the moments just before the entire world changed forever.